Hi, hello, how are you? Let's talk a bit of theology here and talk about the characteristics and attributes of God. Very frequently I hear people quote John the Apostle and say, God is love. And of course the Bible does say that. It's a very simple sentence structure. The word is added by the English translators in order to make it more readable in the English language. But it really just says theos agape. So God is love. People take that phrase, God is love, and unfortunately think that that means that God is all love and only love, not just primarily love, but all consumed by love, and therefore love is the answer to everything. All you need is love, apparently. But then they end up deifying love itself. They end up saying, well, then love is God. And therefore, love is the answer to sin. Love is the answer to the world's problems. Love is the answer to rebellion against God in this world. As long as you are loving, then God doesn't care because, after all, God is love. Equally true, however, is that the writer of Hebrews writes that God is a consuming fire. Same sentence structure. The word is added by the translators. Theos, the same God, is spoken of, and he is a completely annihilating fire. Now, nobody reading that would say, well, then that's all he is, that's everything he is. He's just a consuming fire. He just goes around destroying and consuming everything in his wake. Those two ideas, that God is love and that God is a consuming fire, need to be balanced against each other. Let's talk about the attributes of God for a moment. It was reading A.W. Pink's book on the attributes of God where I was first introduced to the concept of a primary attribute. And what that means is, if love is God's primary attribute, then all of his other attributes and characteristics flow through the fact that he is love. Like, for instance, we could talk about God's loving grace. We could talk about God's loving mercy and forgiveness. But then we'd also have to talk about God's loving wrath and his loving judgment and how lovingly he sends people into outer darkness for eternity. And obviously that doesn't work. There's a juxtaposition between the idea that God is love and that he is also jealous, that he also has anger in him. Well, that obviously doesn't stem from his love. It has to come from somewhere else. Equally, if we were to say God is a consuming fire and only a consuming fire, or that wrath is his primary attribute, then we could rightly talk about his wrathful judgment or wrathful condemnation. But then we'd have to explain his wrathful generosity and his wrathful long-suffering and his wrathful grace. Again, that doesn't work. So Pink concluded that God's primary attribute, and I think he was dead right on this one, his primary attribute is holiness. That God is genuinely holy, untouched by sin at all. And therefore, we can speak equally of God's holy love, holy mercy, holy grace, holy long-suffering, and equally of his holy wrath and his holy judgment and his holy vengeance. All of those other attributes are flowing from the fact that God is first and primarily a holy God. And it is the failure to recognize the holiness of God that has led to so many other theological errors in the understanding of who God is and what God is like. If you say that God is all love, only love, completely love, then it's really hard to understand how he could be angry at rebels and enemies and ultimately judge them. So, everything that God does flows from the fact that he is holy, primarily holy, first and foremost holy, all-encompassingly holy. And that is the motivation for all the other loving and judgmental things that we read about God doing in the Bible, because he is always going to defend his holiness, his righteousness, his separateness from sin, and therefore he can be both judgmental toward sinners and merciful to those sinners he is choosing to redeem. So if you get that straight in your head, I hope that will help you solve some otherwise theological dilemmas. Okay, thanks for being here and listening to that, and I will see you again soon. Hey, did you notice I'm not wearing glasses? That's because I recently had cataract surgery. I still need one more procedure before this is all said and done, and then I'll probably end up with some readers. But hey, look at that. No glasses. So once again, I've apparently changed my signature look. Oh, dear. All right. Thanks. Talk to you again soon. Bye.